Ladies and gentlemen, welcome from Jakarta. Welcome to our webinar, Lebensmittelexport nach Indonesien, Export of Foodstuffs to Indonesia. My name is Sigmund Nemeti, and I'm the Commercial Counselor of the Austrian Embassy Commercial Section, Advantage Austria office in Indonesia. And we are very happy to welcome you to this informative event. Indonesia is an important country when it comes to foodstuffs, and it is a country where there are a lot of possibilities. These possibilities, of course, have certain requirements which need to be met. And in this webinar, we would like to inform you about how to successfully export Austrian quality foodstuffs to Indonesia. Today, we will have two expert speakers who will inform you about what the Indonesian market is all about and also what the requirements are. First, we will have Mr. Helmut Schäfer. Mr. Helmut Schäfer is General Manager of the successful Indonesian food importing company Gautama Indah Perkasa. He will inform you about the food and beverage industry in Indonesia. Afterwards, we will have the team leader for pharmacy and food control of Badan POM, the Indonesian Food and Drug Authority, Mrs. Kinarsashanti Puspita Ninganindita. We call her Ibu Dita. Ibu Dita will inform you about food safety, the food safety system in Indonesia, and the requirements how to register your food product in this country. I would now like to pass the word on to Mr. Schäfer to give his presentation on the food and beverage industry in Indonesia. Mr. Schäfer, would you please take the chair?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Nemeti. A warm welcome to Austria, to Vienna, or wherever you joining us to get some information in this webinar this morning. My intention is to bring you a bit closer to the F&B industry in Indonesia. What are the trends, the market practice, regulations, and the outlook? So we're starting later with the trends. Then for the market overview, we are going a bit into the modern trade, traditional trade, HoReCa, and e-commerce, which are, of course, the four pillars, the four segments of the trade in Indonesia. Then we're going into the categories, practice, grocery and staple food, agriculture, dairy, meat, and, of course, some like it, alcoholic beverages. The next point will be the regulations, where we're coming to so-called SNE, I come to this later, quota, organic certification, BPOM, which we have a very high-end expert today talking about this, and the halal regulation, the outlook and the conclusion, why you should come to Indonesia, and of course later question and answers so that your doubts, your questions can be satisfied either within this webinar or later on by email or under communication. Okay. Going on the trends, the Indonesian F&B market is generally robust and resilient, showing consistent growth despite some challenges. The sector contributed 7.15% to Indonesia's GDP in 2024 and is projected to continue growing, driven by strong domestic demand and export growth. Key factors supporting this growth include a large growing population, increasing urbanization, and rising disposable incomes. As a country known for its agriculture, Indonesia is still struggling to reach food self-sufficiency due to some classic problems in agriculture, such as agricultural land use change, human resources, inputs, etc. Considering that local production cannot meet the national food demand, food imports are deemed necessary. Here is a big chance for all of you. What are the key trends and drivers? We have a growing middle class. Indonesia's middle class is expanding, which makes up a significant portion of the population, and household consumption is a major driver of F&B demand. Convenience and health consciousness. Consumers are increasingly seeking convenience food and health-conscious options, including plant-based and organic products, indicating a shift in preferences. Also, the online food delivery makes a thriving growth in Indonesia, supported by key infrastructure and platforms like GoFood, GrabFood, and ShopeeFood. There are also challenges, logistical constraints. The Indonesian archipelago poses logistical challenges for the F&B industry, particularly in transportation and distribution, which can impact supply chain efficiency, especially cold chain logistics are still lacking. Rising production costs. One of the most pressing issues is the rising production cost, primarily driven by the high prices of imported raw materials. Many local industry players rely on these imports to maintain product quality. Additionally, the impact of wage increases and value-added tax implementation takes place. Those issues result in increased product prices, placing a burden on consumers. Of course, also food security concern. While Indonesia is an agricultural nation, it still lacks challenges in achieving food self-sufficiency, which can impact the availability and affordability of certain food items. The market overview, modern trade. In 2024, modern trade channels like hypermarkets, supermarkets, mini markets held a significant share of the fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, market in Indonesia. While traditional trade, small shops, warungs, and so on, still dominated with 68%, the growth of modern trade share was also substantial. Hypermarkets and supermarkets had a 6% share, while mini-markets hold out of it 17%. The expansion of modern trade channels has been fueled by factors like urbanization, rising incomes, and increasing consumer preferences for convenience, variety, and choice. The online segment is also contributing to this growth, as consumers increasingly prefer the convenience and speed of online shopping. Here are some leading food retailers in Indonesia in 2024. This is not a complete overview, just a couple. Leading is, of course, Indomaret and Alfamart and Alfamidi, with around more than 20,000 outlets nationwide. Each chain, Line Superindo, 150 outlets, nationwide operation. Then some national key accounts, Hypermart, Lotte-Mart, Foodmart, Ranch Market, Farmers, Hero. And we have some local like Grand Lucky, Ion, Pepito. These are all going more into the premium segment, where the people really enjoy to have a wide range with very, very increased quality. These are some pictures about the modern trade. I think it's similar to what you have in Austria or in Europe or wherever. Coming now to the traditional trades. In Indonesia, traditional markets still dominate the trading landscape. Tough, the weight is shifting over the last years significantly. The traditional markets are still accounting for 68% of all trading locations. They are a crucial part of the Indonesian economy, serving as a primary source of income for many and offering a space for micro, small, and medium enterprises, MES, to thrive. Traditional markets known as pasar and small independent stores called warungs are vital for the livelihood of many Indonesians and still dominate the rural and semi-urban regions with approximate 4.8 million outlets due to their accessibility and cultural significance. Farmers, fishermen, and others sellers using those venues to sell their products directly to consumers at potentially lower prices. Indonesia's traditional markets still offer unique and untapped opportunity. At the heart of the landscape is Pasar Jaya, the largest traditional market chain in Indonesia, managing 153 markets across Jakarta with over 105,000 stalls. Actually, it's, by the last information yesterday, 110,840, generating more than 150 trillion rupiah annually. This comes to approximately 8.2 billion euro or 9.3 billion US dollar. Billion, not million. Traditional markets are more than just retail spaces in Indonesia. They are cultural landmarks. Their communities cater to buy fresh produce, textiles, and unique items like battle shoes for traditional ceremonies. With over 2 million daily visitors to Pasar Jaya's market alone, these hubs are cornerstone of daily life, especially for lower and middle income consumers. Here's some images just to get a small idea. Who needs more? I'm happy to send. Then we have the HoReCa, Hotel, Restaurant, Cafe, in 2024, Indonesian food service market, also known as the food and beverage service industry, encompasses businesses, institutions, and companies responsible for preparing meals outside the home, was valued approximately US dollar 45 billion. The figure is expected to grow to US dollar 121.6 billion in 2033, with a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 11.66 during the period 2025 to 2033. Full service restaurants alone contributed about 29 billion US dollars in sales value in 2024. The market is projected to reach around 40 billion US dollar by 2028. Key market trends driven growth include the proliferation and quick service restaurants, QSRs, the rise of delivery and takeout services, and evolving consumer preferences towards healthier and sustainable food options. Technological advancements such as online ordering and mobile payment are further driving market growth. Coming to the e-commerce, Indonesia ranks at the second largest in Asia Pacific and the 8th largest e-commerce market globally, with online spending steadily increasing. Indonesia's e-commerce market is projected to reach $95 billion in 2025, up from $73 billion in 2023. The largest group of Indonesian e-commerce consumers is aged 26 to 35 and represents 46% of the market. 6 of 10 e-commerce consumers are men, contributing 60% of the total online transaction value. Approximately 20% of e-commerce sales in Indonesia come from cross-border transactions, showcasing the growing interest in international products and brands. A remarkable 40% of Indonesians say the frequency of their visits to physical shops has somewhat or greatly decreased. Those are the leading e-commerce platforms, which we have actually in the market leader is Shopee. Then we have Tokopedia. Tokopedia has been acquired by TikTok. Then we have Lazada, and the 5th is Blibli. These are all major suppliers, major platform owners, and this which the Indonesian population is taking the most purchases from. Here we see again the categories. 1% for software, 1% for streaming services, 3% gaming, 5% others, 9% rail handling, 20% travel, and 61% are retail purchases. This is where we are categorizing ourselves in. Advantages of e-commerce: wide market range, cost efficiency, 24/7 availability, and data analytics. So it's very open, very clear, a platform where we can work with. But also it has disadvantages, security concerns, risk of fraud and data breaches, intense competition, because it's also different margin and so on. Logistic challenges, delivering to remote areas, and dependence on technology. Then we have animal and plant protein food consumption per food group. Plant proteins reach 63.9 of the total, mostly derived from cereals, grains, rice and wheat, pulses, beans, tubers. Animal proteins accounted for 34.6% of the total consumption. So we see everything is going to a healthier lifestyle. The most frequent source of meat was chicken, with 14.2%. Red meat was relatively rare, with pork and beef accounting for only 1.5%. Fish were 12.1%, and the total in eggs of the total in eggs and dairy 6.8%. These are just the food groups, and here we see what are the groups in Indonesia. I think should be similar to your country. Grains, milk and milk products, fruit and fruit products, eggs, meat and poultry, fish, shellfish, vegetable, fats and oils, legumes, nuts, seeds, sugar products, non-alcoholic and alcoholic beverages. These are now 3 slides, which are actually separated in 5 different groups: snacks, dairy, staple food, cooking ingredients, and meals, as well as soft drinks. So the first slide is, of course, health and wellness, convenience, and ethnic flavors are the major consumer trends in Indonesia. Coming to the next one, here we see the difference, the share between domestic and import products per category again. So of course we can say domestic products dominate Indonesia's food and beverage market, and it should be not different because there are many very high-end quality producers of food and beverage Indonesian produced. The last slide in this direction, Indonesia's F&B market will be driven by health consciousness, new product development, consumer pursuit of convenience, and modern retail. And in the end, we have the same categories, and here you see the market size for each category and what is the percentage. Dairy, a very important topic for Indonesia, and I think also for Austria. You have a lot of good companies who are producing dairy in your country. Indonesia's dairy products consumption was forecasted increased by 6.3% in 2024. Out of all consumer-oriented dairy products, fluid milk products make up the largest market share at 45%, with 5.6% growth. In addition, evaporated and condensed milk makes up 20% of the market share, with 2.8% growth. Dairy creamer used for toppings and fillings, street foods, cakes, and pastries has the highest growth with a rate of 20.5%. This is followed by cheese, especially mozzarella, with 19.1% growth. Cheese has long been used for pizza and other Western-style foods and is beginning to be used as a topping for many desserts and cakes. Baby food, however, will continue to see a decline due to the decrease in demand for formula milk in light of the continuing government-led breastfeeding awareness campaign. Plant-based milk has also been a notable increase at 6% after last year growth of 11% due to increased marketing campaigns. Meat. In 2024, per capita, meat consumption in Indonesia is estimated to be around 10.8 kilo per capita, while beef consumption per capita is around 2.4 kilo on its own. Poultry, particularly chicken, is a dominant meat choice in Indonesia, accounting for over 70% of all meat consumed. The Indonesian meat market is projected to grow annually by 7.75% from 2024 to 2028. Plant-based. I think this is something where we also can put an eye mark on. Indonesia offers a wide variety of delicious and accessible plant-based food options, with many traditional dishes easily adaptable to vegan or vegetarian dishes. Tofu, we call it tahu, and tempeh, a fermented soybean product, are staples, serving as both meat substitutes and integral ingredients in various dishes. A rising number of Indonesian consumers are adopting vegan and vegetarian diets. This shift is influenced by the desire to improve health, manage weight, and reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart conditions. Additional lactose intolerance and other dairy allergies have made plant-based alternatives more popular among Indonesians. Plant-based milk, like soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, and coconut milk, are some of the popular dairy alternatives among lactose intolerant consumers in the country. In response to the demand, many players are launching dairy-free alternatives. Additionally, numerous restaurants and cafes in cities like Bali cater specifically to vegan and vegetarian preferences. Alcohol. I just touched base. Alcohol. Indonesia's alcohol import regulations are among the most stringent in the region, reflecting a balance between economic growth and cultural considerations. Business entering this sector must navigate a complex licensing requirement, strict compliance standards, and tightly controlled distribution channels. Business must obtain the alcohol beverage trading license. Alcohol imports are only allowed through specific bounded logistics centers, PLB, at ports as per regulations. All distributors, sub-distributors, retailers, and direct sellers must hold a valid business license, SIOP MB, Surat Izin Usaha Perusahaan Minuman Beralkohol, or specific license to operate legally. Importers are required to submit quarterly reports on alcohol imports and distribution via the inner trade system or manually as outlined in the trade regulations. These are some more importer requirements. What you need: importer identification number, tax ID, customs identification number, and. So all this has to be fulfilled once you want to be in the alcohol industry, and you need more information, we will be happy to inform. SNE. What is SNE? It's called a standard. Indonesian National Standard is a national applicable standard in Indonesia. It is formulated by technical committees and officially issued by the National Standard Agency of Indonesia, BSN, a non-ministerial government body reporting directly to the president. BSN is responsible for implementing national policies related to standardization and conformity assessment in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. The legal base for the establishment of SNE is Government Regulation number 102 of 2000. According to this regulation, objectives of national standardization include enhancing and protection of consumers, business actors, and workers, ensuring public safety and security, preserving environmental functions, supporting the smooth flow of trade, and promoting fair competition in the market. SNE serves as a national benchmark to create a common understanding of product terminology and definitions, particularly in the food sector. It helps standardize product naming and classification and provides a reference framework for product certification and regulatory compliance. While the adoption of SNE is generally voluntary, it can become mandatory, either in part or in full, if the standard relates to critical areas such as public safety, health, environmental preservation, or significant economic impact. In such cases, relevant technical authorities have the right to enforce the application of specific technical specifications or parameter outlined in the SNE. And here you just see a chart where you see a couple of products which are mandatory SNE, like natural water, mineral water, demineralized water, palm cooking oil, instant coffee. There are many, many more. Just these are maybe some where you see, okay, this could be part of my product portfolio. Quota. Quota is a big act. We do it via the Ministry for Agriculture, which goes for dairy, honey, meat in particularly. Quota is not easy, but quota is also easy. It depends on how your business is done, how the regulations have been followed. If all the requirements have been fulfilled, then I think there is no problem to work with quota and to get your cheese, butter, cream, honey, meat into the Indonesian country. Again, for fish as well. Fish is a different department, which is the Fishery, Ministry for Agriculture as well. But again, whenever you have your documents ready, everything will be in order. Then we have another part, is the organic certification, where organic food is food that comes from organic agricultural land that implements management practices aimed at maintaining the ecosystem and achieving sustainable productivity, controlling weeds, pests, and diseases through several methods such as recycling plant and livestock waste, crop selection and rotation, water management, land processing, and planting, and the use of biological materials for food. Organic processed food is food or drink that comes from organic food that is processed in a certain way or method, with or without permitted additional ingredients. And this is also regulated in the regulation POM RE number 1 of 2017. This is a certificate sample where you see this is an Indonesian organic certificate and also the organic logo of Indonesia. BPOM, I leave this out because a specialist is waiting, Ibu Dita, to tell you much, much more than I can tell you in my long years here. Okay, then have one more topic, which is halal. As we know, Indonesia is a bit in the direction of Muslim. Halal is important, not for only Muslims, also for us, because it's a guarantee that our food is safe. All products in Indonesia, including food and beverage, medicines, cosmetic, chemical products, biological products, genetically engineered products, and consumer goods and services are used in trade must have mandatory halal certification. This also applies for goods containing or made from animal sources, except for products made from non-halal materials. On October 18, 2024, the Indonesian government issued the government regulation number 42, granting a 2-year extension until no later than October 17, 2026, for importers and retailers to comply fully with the halal certification requirements. This timeline allows foreign exporters enough time to meet the new halal requirements, so they do not need to follow the certification until the new deadline. There are two ways halal certification can be done. Indonesian appointed halal certification body, or we call it HCB, is auditing the facility, means your facility, or the HCB in the respective country, means in Austria, who has an MRA with the Halal Product Insurance Organizing Agency, BPGPH, is auditing the facility. If you need further information, who is it in your country, then you can get this at a later stage from us. The outlook. Indonesia's food and beverage F&B industry has a stable outlook in the near to medium term. The profile of the food and beverage industry will remain low, as the industry serves the basic needs of society, including daily consumer products, making its demand relatively stable and less affected by weakening purchasing power of economic slowdown. The demand stability is one of the key factors supporting the industry's outlook. However, we also have to recognize the potential risk of declining consumer spending if the economic slowdown continues. The slowdown in economic growth is reflected in corrections to several economic indicators, such as gross domestic product, GDP, inflation, purchasing managers, index, PMI, and the consumer confidence index, CCI. This could lead to a shift in consumption patterns, with consumers choosing more affordable alternatives over premium products, especially among segments of the population facing limited purchasing power. Indonesia's F&B industry outpaces GDP growth. The stability highlights the industry's role as a key driver of the domestic economy. Indonesia is attracting both domestic and foreign investors as a promising market, particularly in the food industry. With a population projected to exceed 281 million in 2025, demand for food and beverages is set to rise. However, the younger generation is shifting their preferences in food and beverage choices. Our conclusion. Overall, the Indonesian F&B market presents significant opportunities for growth and investment, despite the challenges it faces. The sector's resilience, coupled with its potential for innovation and adaptation to evolving consumer preferences, positions it as a key contributor to the Indonesian economy. Industry players must take note of the before highlighted changes and remain vigilant to adapt and thrive in this evolving market. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, Austria time. My name is Dita. I work from the Directorate of Processed Food Registration from the Indonesian Food and Drug Authority. Okay, first of all, before I start my presentation, I would like to send my sincere appreciation for the Austria Embassy that holding this webinar and for inviting BPOM us for sharing the information regarding food safety in Indonesia. And I hope all the audience here are doing well today, so we can join this webinar until it's finished, and we can have a lot of more information after the webinar is finished to have more discussion. Okay, so for the start of my presentation, for the introduction, I would like to inform you a little bit about my country, the Republic of Indonesia. So this is for the background why we have a little bit different type of food safety control that different from other country. Here in Indonesia, we have the pre-market control and post-market control. And that's why, because we are an archipelago country, so we have a lot of islands, we have a lot of ports along the island. So goods, either food or drugs or anything, will move a lot through in and out our country. So that's why we need to have more secure system to protect our people in order to have safe products, especially in food products. So this is the Indonesian Food and Drug Authority. So we are a non-ministerial government agency formed in 2001 that carried out government tasks in drug and food control. And regarding food, what we deal here is our authority is in the processed food. So in Indonesia, we already separate the authority in each ministry for different food. For instance, for the fresh food will belong to other ministry, for the fisheries and everything, and will be done with in other ministry. So in Indonesian and Food Drug Authority, or FDA, we are in charge in the processed food. So it's a little bit small chart, but I believe that we will share the presentation later. So here, basically, we will tell you about the organization chart in our office. So as I mentioned before, we're dealing with drug, medicines, and also cosmetic, supplement, and processed food control. So I'm in the division of processed food control. In our office, we have the Directorate of Processed Food Standardization. That's the directorate that handle all the regulation and everything. They set up the regulation. And then in my directorate, we are from the processed food registration. So what we do is we are in the part of pre-market control. So everything, the processed food that before go to Indonesian market have to be registered. And then we also have the Directorate of Processed Food Production Control that will deal with the production facility, and also Directorate of Processed Food Distribution Control that will deal with the product in the market, and also Directorate of Community and Processed Food Business Actor Empowerment. So when we talk about food safety, it's a condition and effort needed to prevent food from being contaminated with biological, chemical, and other objects that can interfere, harm, and endanger human health, and do not conflict with religion, belief, and community culture. So that is, food is safe for consumption. We have it in our food law, and also we have the same almost definition in our health law too. So here we are, the law and regulation that are related to food in Indonesia. As I mentioned before, we have the law of number 18, 2012 on food, and also we have the government regulation. And also we have the more technical regulation that issued by my agency, the Indonesian FDA. We have the regulation about food registration, food labeling, food additives, and so on. And when we talk about food control system in Indonesia, we have 3-tier supervision. So the food control system is not only the responsible of the government, but also the producer. So they have to apply the GMP, HACCP, and also Pa Helmut already said that halal assurance system is now become mandatory in 2 more years in our country. And also government for sure is one of the pillar of the food control system, and also the customer. So the consumer, we will make sure that the consumer will empower enough and to help us to take care of the food safety in the society. So when we talk about the food chain, as I mentioned before, we have the separation in which ministry handling with what type of food category. So for the fresh food, from the plant, it will be under the Ministry of Agriculture, and for the fish is under the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, and for the processed food, the fresh food, it's from the plant 2, it's from the National Food Agency. So for the processed food, here we are in the Indonesian Food and Drug Authority. We also work close with the Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Health, and the local government. So here in the very busy traffic here in the slide, basically it's telling us about the pre-post market control in our country. So basically in the pre-market control, we will make sure that the food facility will comply with the good manufacturing practice for the food production. Then for the product, we will make sure they are registered. We will evaluate from the safety part, the nutrition part, and the labeling part. And the post-market control, we will do the sampling and make sure that all the food product that is distributed in Indonesian market will comply with the regulation. And after that, we also have everything is already digital in Indonesia for the processed food. And we also have a lot of application for the digital tracking and everything. For the consumer, we have the BPO mobile to check whether the food is legal or not, who is the producer and everything. So the consumer have the power to decide which one they want to buy and make sure that the food product that they buy is safe and fit with their culture, their beliefs and everything. So we will come to the processed food registration, the main topic for this afternoon. So the processed food registration procedure is already conducted online, everything. First, the importer or the party that you have to work with in Indonesia have to have company account registration. So after they have the company account registration, they will get the user ID and password. And after that, they can start to do the registration. Basically, in the system, we have to input all the data and then we upload all the document needed in the requirement that I will mention later. And after that, our officer will check everything that is in the system that is uploaded and input is already correct. Then we will grant the marketing authorization. So in Indonesia, the registration of processed food is categorized into 3 risk level, and each risk level will be different in procedure, different in the timeline and everything. And the risk level is sorted like automatically by the system. So it's not our officer who decide whether your food is fall under which category, but the system will decide it based on the composition, based on the ingredient, based on the production process and everything. So first, for the high-risk food is the basically for food with have a specific consumer target. Okay. For instance, for babies, and then for people with medical condition. And then for if your food putting some claim like your food on the label, they say like high vitamin C, high fiber, low fat, something like that, then it will go to the high risk food, because we have to check whether your claim is fit with the regulation, whether your quality of the products is fit for babies or fit for people with medical conditions such as for diabetic patient and everything. And then the second level is the high medium risk. It's only for food that SNI mandatory, but Mr. Helmut already said about SNI. So in Indonesia, we have several food products that is SNI mandatory, so that food have to be have SNI certification, such as bottled water, and then iodine salt, flour. They have to be SNI mandatory. They have to be SNI certification. And so they will fall under this level, so the high medium risk level. So for the low risk level, so it's basically for general food, like food that can be consumed by public population, doesn't have to be like in a specific consumer target on, and then they don't put anything like claim on the label, and they don't go like a special process, like they don't go sterilization with the sterilization process or with the pasteurization process. So they just have like, let's say, simple process in the production. So it will go to the medium risk. So the system, well, when you start to input and upload this information, whether the ingredient list and then the production process, the system will filter based on the information and will decide which food category that your food will fall onto for the registration. And this is the requirement for the company account registration. For here, we will focus on the imported products. So the party that you have to have appointed by your side of a company here in Indonesia to deal with all the registration, they have to have the taxpayer registration number, and then they have to have the business identification number. Sorry, and they have to have food safety management system certification in their distribution facility, like in their warehouse and everything. And then they have to have the letter of appointment from your side. And also they have to submit to us the certificate of GMP, HACCP. It's not all, it's substitute to each other, whether you have the GMP certificate, HACCP, or ISO 22000, or either audit result for the competent authority in the country of origin. So the requirement that the manufacturer or the producer in Austria have to prepare for the company account registration is the letter appointment, and then the certificate of GMP, and so on for the substitute. And then for the processed food registration, after you succeed with the company account registration, you can go follow the processed food registration. As I mentioned before, that the risk level will decide what kind of requirement that you need to submit and what is the timeline that you have to follow. So here we have the table. You can just see for the high-risk product, almost all the requirements are checked. It is the ingredient list, the production process, the production code, shelf life, label design, and then material specification, certificate of analysis for final product, and certificate of analysis for nutrient, and then label translation if it is other than language in Bahasa Indonesia or in English, in Indonesian language or in English, they have to have the label translation and the picture of the product and the SNI certificate only for product that is SNI mandatory, and also the RMP or risk management program certificate. But it's only for product with the high risk level and for the domestic product. So the requirement that the producer in Australia have to prepare is the ingredient list, the production process, the production code, the shelf life, and also the material specification, label design. And for the certificate analysis, you have to provide to the importer here in Indonesia. And also the health certificate or the free sale certificate is very important because it's like the guarantee from your government to us that everything that is exported to Indonesia are fit for human consumption or freely sold in Austria. So when we talk about the process for the low medium risk level, it will have only 3 steps. Once you input or upload the documents, once the importer, not really you, but the importer here in Indonesia, upload and input the document and everything is okay, then the system will issue the payment order once they pay, and the registration number or the marketing authorization will be issued. So it will be like 1 working day. So for the low or medium risk, the SNI mandatory, it will be 5 working days, and there will be an evaluation in the middle of the process. Once they upload and they input, we have to check whether the SNI is still valid, whether the SNI is comply with the product that is registered and everything. And for the high risk process, the timeline will be 30 working days. It is quite long because we have to check everything, your certificate on analysis, your labeling and everything. Then if we still find another information that we need to add, then we will send additional information, what kind of information that you have to submit or to add. And if everything is okay, then the marketing authorization will be issued. So this is the 2D barcode information. Like I mentioned before, everything in Indonesia, especially in the processed food control part, we have everything is online and digitalized. And one thing that either imported product or domestic product have to put on the label is the 2D barcode that we issued and should be printed on the label. And the function or the purpose of this 2D barcode is to protect the consumer from food that do not meet requirements. So the consumer can have our application before mobile on their mobile, and then they can scan the barcode. And once they scan the barcode, all the information regarding the legality of the product will be pop up on the cell phone. So they can match whether their product is really a legal product and everything. If in the case that when they scan, they don't find the information, they can just send it to us, report it to us, so we can take into action into that. So maybe we can check our data, whether it's updated or not, or we can send our official to check whether the product in the market is really the legal product that is registered to us or not. So this is already the closing. I think I'm quite efficient, less than 10 minutes. And then, so this is the closing. In Indonesia, there is a sharing task and responsibility and in food control, namely integrated food safety control system involving many stakeholders to perform an effective food safety control system along the food chains. And the Indonesian government applies system control for food produced and distributed in Indonesia with 3-tier supervision, namely the government, the producer, and the public as the consumer. And also we have the full spectrum process food control by Indonesian FDA, conducted in 2 comprehensive layers, which are pre-market control and post-market control. And the processed food registration as a part of pre-market control is carried out to assure that food product in the Indonesian market comply with the safety, quality, nutrition, and labeling requirement. So these are the information that I can share with you today. So second to last, I will give the time and the floor to Mr. Sigmund to have the next question and answer.
Thank you very much, Ibu Dita. Thank you very much, Mr. Helmut.
My pleasure.
I would like to now take this opportunity to open the question and answer session. I would like to also say that the 2 presentations which you saw today will be made available to you. Please write us an email if you would like to have them, and we'll be happy to send it to you. In addition, I can say that this webinar is recorded, and it will be made available on the YouTube channel of the Austrian Foreign Trade Advantage Austria in a few days. So also that is a possibility for you to review the information that you received today. We have already received a few questions, which I would like to start with. The first question is for Ibu Dita. One of the registration requirements is certificate of analysis. Does it have to be from an Indonesian laboratory or can it be from an Austrian laboratory?
Okay.
Ibu Dita.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sekman. So thank you for the question regarding one of the requirement, which is the certificate of analysis. It can be issued by the Australian laboratory or Indonesian laboratory. Both sides is okay as long as the laboratory is accredited. So it's okay as long as the laboratory is accredited and the validity of the COA or certificate of analysis is 1 year. So if you already have your product with the COA less than 1 year and issued by the accredited laboratory, so it can be used for the registration.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dita. Another question which came up is what do I have to consider or what are the basic requirements to bring my product to the Indonesian market? Helmut, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah. First of all, you have to see who will be your partner in Indonesia. The best I suggest is you conduct a market survey, a market visit first, so that you see what is the nature of the Indonesian market, what is the product like which you want to bring, are there any competitors, how are they presented, and so on. So if you feel comfortable, which you should, because we encourage you, then looking for a suitable partner who is, of course, legally registered in Indonesia. There are many partners around. Our company is one, but there are, I think, hundreds. So then you deal with this company and definitely do personal contacts first, meet them, see how they are set, what is their requirements to you, what is your requirements to them, see what operation they are running, what products they are having. Are they having products which are multiple to yours, or is this a secluded product which has been taken on? And then once you're confident with the partner, once you're confident with the market, once you're confident with your product to put it into the Indonesian industry, then you partner, and then you go into the process of the implementation, the registration, which of course starts first and very important with the BPOM registration, as Ibu Dita has shared. And this is very important. There may be some companies who do not follow the rules, but most of the legal companies, they 100% follow the rules. And if you cannot give them the data, then they also might not be able or willing to register your products in the market that you can start and export it to Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Helmut.
You're welcome.
I have another question which came up. The question is, bottled water, is it considered level 2, high, medium risk? Ibu Dita?
Yes, for the bottled water, yes, it will fall to the high, medium risk. Sorry, the SNI. Sorry, the SNI mandatory. So other than you have to have the registration certificate from BPOM or from the Indonesian FDA, you also have to have the SNI certificate for the bottled water before you come to BPOM to register the product.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Dita. Another question we have has to do with halal, the halal certificate. The question is there any accredited institute in Austria to give the halal certificate for Indonesia? And the answer is yes, there are. And if you would like to have their addresses, please contact our office. We'll be happy to supply them. Another question which came up is dairy meat products. Are there special requirements or challenges when it comes to dairy meat products? Helmut?
I think every product has a challenge, and it's still easy as long as we follow the rules. With dairy and also meat and honey, as I have touched on before, you have to follow the regulations, which is mainly the regulation for the Ministry of Agriculture, the side of the BPOM. Is the country where you're trading from registered with the Minister of Agriculture in a bilateral agreement? For Austria, I can say yes, it has been done. It was a process, but it has been done. Is your company approved? If yes, means you have the approval from the Minister of Agriculture, then you can look for a partner and can undergo the registration with the BPOM to get the ML, the import food registration number, and then you can do the process to obtain your quota, which goes to it's all online, which goes to the local government, goes to Minister of Agriculture, goes to the BPOM, and then the import permit, Perstujuan import, will be released by the Department of Trade, Kemendak. And with this, then your importer, you can't do this on your own, or if you have your own entity, means you register your own company in Indonesia, where you get your own entity, which is the legal entity to operate in Indonesia. Then you have to also register this with the BPOM, that you can get the obtain the registration number, that you can also do the administration with the FDA, with the BPOM. So after this, then you get the quota, you can import, and then you have to do the import facilities, import regulations. If there's any need for explanation, I can do this in a separate answer for you.
Thank you, Helmut. Another question which we have, I think this is something that Dita can talk about. Honey.
Yeah.
Is honey SNI mandatory? And what basically is the procedure for honey and the approximate costs? Probably that's a difficult one. No?
Okay, thank you. So for the honey, it's not SNI mandatory. But since a few years ago, if the honey is like not raw honey, it's the only ingredients in the product, so it's honey 100%, it will go to the National Food Agency, so no longer in our office, because it's considered as fresh food, because I think the process is quite simple and it's not really processed. So since a few years back, it's already, I think last year around April or so, it's already, the registration already conducted in the National Food Agency.
Okay, thank you, Badita. One more.
Can I add?
Oh, please.
Sorry.
Okay.
But if your honey have another thing in the product, for instance, now a lot of a new novel kind of product, so your honey, you add something like let's say some spices or something, then with that addition, it will be like processed food, so it will go to our office, to the Indonesian FDA. Okay.
Thank you. One more question concerns the label of the product. Does it have to be in Indonesian?
Okay, thank you. So regarding the label, we have the regulation about the food labeling in Indonesia. So basically, there are certain information that have to be in Indonesian language, but not like you have to have the whole label in Indonesian language. It's not like that. So we still have like the label can be some kind of you put it on the original label, the information about that product in Indonesia. So for instance, the information that have to be in Indonesian language is the brand of the product, the name, and then the food type of the product, either it's a beverage or let's say snacks or something, and then the importer, the BPOM, the number, the registration number that you have to put, and then the importer address and name, and then there are 6, the best before have to be put, and the net weight or the volume weight of the product have to be in Indonesian language. And if you already have halal, it should be follow the halal logo that already formatted in Indonesia for the Indonesian logo halal.
Thank you, Badita. Yeah. We have now reached the end of our webinar. For all those questions which we were not able to answer due to the lack of time, if you do have any questions, please send us an email with a question. We will be very happy to send this question to our speakers, and then you would get a written response from our speakers over our office concerning your question. I would like to thank our speakers, Helmut, Ibudita, for coming here today to our little studio in the Advantage Austria office in Jakarta. Since we wanted a very good quality of sound, we turned off the air conditioning, so it is a little bit warm here at the moment. But I hope that you were able to clearly hear us and to benefit from the information that we were able to supply to you. If you have any further questions concerning importing of food and foodstuffs, here is our contact information. Please don't hesitate to contact us, and we will be very happy to follow up and answer the questions necessary for you to successfully import food products to Indonesia. Again, I would like to thank Ibudita from Badan POM, from the Indonesian Food and Drug Authority, and Pak Helmut Schäfer. Helmut Schäfer is the general manager of PT Gautama Indah Perkasa, which is a very successful company importing food products to Indonesia. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presentation.
Pleasure.
And we would like to wish you a good day to Austria from Jakarta. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.